100 megawatts. Then you have Bexar County. Bexar County is a lot bigger than some of the South Texas counties that I mentioned, but they are fourth at the at over 100,000 megawatts watts of solar and wind. Then you have Jim Hog at 78 megawatts, and then you have Guadalupe, a big county up there next to San Antonio, and they're doing 4.9 megawatts on that. So what's next? Well, there's new storage, battery storage projects that are coming into Bexar County, Webb County, Atascosa, Guadalupe, Jim Hog, Zapata counties. And then you got new solar farms that are coming in Atascosa, Webb County, Zapata counties that will be adding a lot of megawatts. So I mentioned that because, we're big on oil and gas. Everybody talks about oil and gas, but we're also, South Texas is a leader, especially Webb and Stark County in solar and wind. And again, jobs are being created. This information came from the Department of Energy, so you can see the citations on this. We sent you everything with maps, links. So if y'all want to follow up on any of this solar and wind, these are jobs that are being created and a lot of energy, and we're proud of South Texas as to what they're doing with wind and solar. I'll tell you one last story. When the first wind farm came to South Texas, some folks from Corpus Christi came and talked to me about this. This was my first year in Congress many years ago. And when I was there, they had told me that the military, FAA and Homeland were against it. So I brought in the Department of Defense, I brought in Homeland and the FAA, and they basically said that they, couldn't support it because it would affect security and other things, the radars and all that. And they said the propellers, the turbines would cause some problems. And I still remember, it's a little joke that I used on it, where I said, look, if you see something moving around like this and it's moving forward, it's probably an airplane. If you see something moving and it's not moving and it's stationary, it's probably a wind farm. So I think problem solved. They were not in the mood of joking around, but guess what? We kept pushing, and through our insistence, this folks from Corpus Christi set the first wind farm through my help in South Texas. And now in South Texas, we're seeing the boom of wind farms, and of course now solar. And so I've been involved in this for a long time, even though I support oil and gas, and I support all of the above to make sure that we're independent when it comes to energy. With that, I'm up here in DC. I'll take a few questions, and Fernanda will go one by one. Be happy to talk about the shutdown. Be happy to talk about clean energy in South Texas.
Yes, hello, Congressman. This is Frank with KVEO. Quick question. Do you think that the shutdown could end this week?
I don't think we're seeing that this week. I wish it would be this week, unless if something happens. There are some conversations going on, but I think the problem is one side thinks they're winning, the other side thinks they're winning. And when both sides are winning, it's not good. I think we need to come to the table. The House needs to be here in Washington. I think more members need to do what I did. Don't take your pay on it. And like I withheld my pay, and I think other members withhold your pay, show up in DC, and let the House, get together so we can try to do it. Because right now, what the House leadership has done is they sent Senate go ahead and accept this. And keep in mind, I was with some folks yesterday and on the Republican side, and they basically said, well, you guys are using healthcare as an advantage. Should be a clean CR. By the way, the CR is about 91 pages and about 67 pages have nothing to do with appropriations. But keep in mind when the 35 days that we had last time, the leverage that was used by the Republicans was the border wall, the border wall. So this is used by both Democrats and Republicans. I think we need to stop blaming each other. We need to sit down and do it in a bipartisan way. And we can do it. I know we can.
Okay, and what impact does the shutdown have on trade, namely bridge expansion? I know Senator Ted Cruz has been talking about modernizing the bridges. What impact was the shutdown having on that?
Well, the work, unless they're waiting for an environmental, what Senator Cruz and I, as you know, Senator Cruz and I carried the legislation to establish the expansion of bridges in the Valley, Laredo, Eagle Pass. So Senator Cruz and I are very familiar with this. So, the cities can continue doing their work, but if there's some environmental or inquiry with the federal government, that might be delayed, but they can still keep moving on that. OFO, I've checked on my men and women in green and blue. As you know, there was a $10 billion fund in the big, beautiful / ugly bill that allowed the president to move some of that money to pay, the agents, about 61,000 plus agents, which included, of course, included Coast Guard, included also men and women in blue, men and women in green, ICE, Secret Service and other folks, as long as there was U.S. Marshals, as long as it was tied into border security, which is, I'm glad that they're getting paid. But the civilians or the support staff for the men and women in blue are not getting paid. So they're still at the bridges. They're still at Border Patrol working. But we need everybody to get paid. I'll say this. If you look at the last shutdown, there were certain things that were painful. The military was not getting paid. They were able to move money around, even though they can't do that without Congress, but that's a different thing. They were able to move money to pay Homeland Security folks. They can't do that, but nevertheless, they're getting done. The next question would be, what about, because that brought really the shutdown down when the air controllers were decided to put some pressure and delay flights. If they pay them, that means that this could be extended. I've heard from some folks November 1st, because November 1st is the open enrollment for healthcare, and folks are going to start seeing healthcare. And I've seen some charts and some maps that in the red districts, a lot of those folks depend on the affordable healthcare. Over 22 million people in my district, 113,000 people might see their insurance premiums go up.
Thank you so much, Congressman.
Yes. Next question.
Good morning, Congressman. It's Sandra Sanchez.
Hello, Sandra.
Good morning. I wanted to clarify something you just said with Frank. You're saying that Border Patrol agents, ICE agents, CBP officers are getting paid from money, $10 billion that was moved over. I had not heard that before. And then I actually want to ask my question, but I just want to clarify. That's what you just said?
That is correct. In the big, beautiful bill, there was a fund, and I wonder if they had this in mind, that talks about reimbursements for border security. Now, it's interesting, and please be careful how you quote me on this. I don't know if that $10 billion is what the state of Texas was supposed to get. I don't know about that. I don't know, but there is a $10 billion. We have a section. We can get you the list of people, and Matt is here, so we'll be happy to get you the section from the big, beautiful bill, but there's $10 billion, and then they listed the number of, the people. It's the law enforcement, Border Patrol agents, OFO, which are the Office of Field Operation Blue agents, I think Secret Service, Coast Guard, U.S. Marshals, certain, anything that's related to border security, they're being covered. So for anybody that's interested, I will have Matt and Fernanda send you that information and the exact provisions where they're taking this money from. Again, that's up to Congress, but anyway, they're doing that. That should be Congress doing this, but nevertheless, this is where they took the money from. And I'm glad that Border Patrol, those folks are getting paid, but what about the other folks that are not getting paid?
Okay, and sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry. And I did want to ask you, sir, about any cuts being on the Homeland Security Subcommittee. Do you know of any cuts to border security at this time? And perhaps how much Kristi Noem is spending on this new Operation River Wall, using 100 boats on the Rio Grande here in the Rio Grande Valley? I mean, is this necessary? Can you give us any cost information?
Yeah, well, first of all, as to specific cuts, there were some homeland and military were really not cut in certain areas, but there were some centers of excellence, with some of our Texas universities that were affected. I think they're still working on that. We've been trying to convince the administration not to cut those centers because it affects like Texas A&M and folks like that. To the big beautiful bill, as you know, the last time we had a government shutdown was the administration wanted more money for the border wall. That was the reason. And remember, right now they're saying, hey, don't talk about anything except for the shutdown or clean CR. Well, last time it was the border wall. So let's be fair. Democrats are using healthcare now. The last shutdown for 35 days was over the border wall. They wanted more border wall. This time they added $46 billion of border wall. And as you know, the smart wall, there's a link. If y'all haven't seen that, I'm sure y'all have. It has the projects, how much of the water buoys they're going to use, where they're going to use fencing, and they gave different areas. Already, this is the first, $4.5 billion are being used. So they seem to, have that money for that type of border security. But if you keep in mind, I'm against the border wall. I'll support technology. I'll support more boots on the ground. I'll support getting rid of Carrizo Cane. But the numbers went down without building a single mile of border wall. It was two things that really brought the numbers down. One, you get Mexico and the other countries to really do more work and stop people from coming in. But the second thing, which I mentioned to the Biden administration, and they just wouldn't listen, was you got to have repercussions. You get somebody, and if they don't qualify, send them back right away. Deport people, deport. Not Title 42, but Title 8. And you let people know that you're deporting people back like Secretary Jay Johnson and Obama did back during that administration. It worked for Obama, and it's certainly working for President Trump. Different ways of doing it, but it's still the same result. But the border wall, or monies that they have, and I mentioned this border security, the big, beautiful bill, they put a lot of money for defense and for homeland.
Finally, so sorry. The reports that Kristi Noem wants to spend $170 million on a Gulfstream jet for herself and other DHS officials. Is this necessary at this time? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, and again, that is something that I'm going to ask Homeland. I've been tied up with healthcare and SNAP and all that. That is over our jurisdiction. And we will be talking to our committee staff to get a lot more information on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sandra. Next question.
Buenos días, congresista, ¿cómo está? Camila con Univision y Fox. Quería hacerle una pregunta también un poquito, a lo mejor alejado de lo que estaba diciendo, pero justo como lo estábamos comentando, ¿no? También sabemos que ha habido presencia de la Guardia Costera lanzando un operativo, también además de alguna otra militarización en esta frontera en específico, en esta zona aquí en el Río Grande. ¿Cuál es su pensar sobre esta situación? Y si podría decirme lo mismo en inglés también. Gracias.
Sí, cómo no. Bueno, es importante tener diferentes niveles de seguridad, Border Patrol, las personas en los puentes. Y en el pasado yo he empujado traer la Guardia Costal para ayudar también. No nomás para parar personas, pero parar las drogas que están entrando a los Estados Unidos. Es que si siguen las reglas que tenemos, es algo que yo apoyo.
¿Podría decirme lo mismo en inglés, por favor?
Yes. Look, I support different areas, how we can provide border security, border patrol, OFO. Coast Guard is important. In fact, some years ago, I added language to get the Coast Guard involved in the river on it. And from there, as you know, they did some work along the river, and then Border Patrol came in and they started bringing the air boats, that you see right now. But Coast Guard also can provide at the Coast Guard, and technically they can also cover the river also. So I support that, having different levels, not only to stop people from coming in, number one, but numbers have gone down, but especially to support stopping drugs from coming in. Next question.
Yes. Hello, Congressman Cuellar. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely. Can you hear me better here?
Yes.
Okay. So, you had mentioned that, Snap and Wick.
Can you, I'm sorry, just for everybody, name and who you with?
Oh, yes. My apologies. Kobe Arrega with KGNS.
Okay.
Before I start, would it be possible to get a comment in Spanish and English for this matter?
Sí, cómo no.
Thank you. You mentioned SNAP and WIC, and of course, the 361,000 people that are dependent on SNAP and WIC, and just how much of an effect this is actually going to have on, our South Texas natives. Is there any kind of plan set in place or any ideas that, that we may be able to help with these benefits or assist with these benefits? I mean, we just saw federal workers, being assisted with water utilities here in Laredo. And so is there anything of that nature that may be possible? Of course, just because November is right around the corner.
Yeah, and certainly, one of the things, the best solution is to stop the shutdown and get back to work up here in DC, talk to each other so we can do that. My experience, I've seen a lot of shutdowns over my experience here. The last one was over the border wall. That was 35 days. And, they didn't move money around like they're doing this time. And when it comes to SNAP, there is talk that the administration might want to look for some changes and to move some monies around. They're looking at that, also looking at trying to pay the air controllers. As you know, that was what brought everything together to get rid of the shutdown the last time. So there are things that are out there that might be available to do that, but a lot of times it's the private sector or the non-for-profits that will go up there to help folks that might not get any pay. There are banks and credit unions that are reaching out where they can allow loans without interest, or maybe a low interest, or skip some of the pays. So the community has always stood up, has always come together, not only in Laredo, but in different parts of the area. And I certainly encourage them to do that. I saw that the city council in Laredo voted to, help some of the folks. And that's what we see, the mayor, the city council, other folks standing up, the non-for-profits, the food banks. But as you know, even the food banks, there were some cuts because in January, there were cuts to a lot of programs. And it's affected, including some of the food banks. There's been some cuts. So it's one of those things the community will come together. We can't, we want to help, but the best way that we can help is by stopping the shutdown and get back again. But, Kobe, 361,000 people is a lot of families. My congressional district is, close to 800,000. We're talking about 361 individuals in my congressional district of almost 800,000 people. So think about that. That's almost getting to half of the people that I represent that depend on SNAP. And then I mentioned 133,000 people that will see their insurance premiums go up. And then 55,000 people that will lose their Medicaid. And again, a lot of this, they say that it's illegals or fraud and abuse. Well, look, there's already things in place to prevent that. And if they want to come in and sit down, and I'll be willing to give them ideas, if they want to look at more checks and balances so there's no fraud and abuse or undocumented aliens, but I already went over the undocumented alien since 1996. We can sit down, but you just can't say, oh, fraud and abuse or illegals, and then not come to the table. No, if you really feel that there's a problem, let's sit down, bipartisan, and get it done.
Thank you, Congressman Cuellar. Could I, once again, could we just touch on this, but in Spanish for our Telemundo affiliates? Pretty much the exact same question.
Sí. Bueno, es importante que notar que yo tengo más de 361 personas que van a perder la ayuda de comida en mi distrito. Más de 361,000 personas que van a perder la comida. Esos son casi llegando cerca de la mitad de mi distrito. Al mismo tiempo tenemos 133,000 personas que van a ver el seguro que se va a levantar, porque mis colegas republicanos no se quieren sentar para hacer un arreglo. Y 55,000 personas que van a pedir Medicaid. Ellos ya pasaron la ley, que yo estaba contra esta ley de Medicaid. Es que lo podemos sentar, podemos hacer un arreglo, pero primero necesitamos los colegas republicanos, con todo respeto, que vengan a trabajar en Washington, como yo estoy en Washington, que no reciben su pago, como yo también no, puse que no quiero recibir mi pago hasta que haga un arreglo. Es que es cosas básicas. Si vas a hacer un arreglo, necesitas que estar presente y llegar a un arreglo.
Well, thank you very much, Congressman Cuellar. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Another question?
Buenos días, Congressman. Miriam Salinas con Univision y Fox Laredo.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Vamos a la entrevista en español, ¿se puede?
Sí, cómo no.
Ok, nada más, estaba hablando usted referente a la energía limpia, en que puede reducir los costos de energía y crear empleos. Nada más cuénteme un poquito de esto.
Es interesante. En mi distrito, Webb County es número uno de todos los condados que yo represento que tiene genera energía limpia. Hablando de wind, hablando de solar, número uno de todos los condados. Número dos es Stark County. Es que a veces personas dicen, oye, no nomás es el petróleo, pero necesitamos esto también. Es que Laredo, el Webb County es número uno, Stark County es número dos, Bear County, que es un condado grande, es número 4. Es que los condados rurales como Webb County, Starr y otras áreas producen ese tipo de energía limpia. Esos son trabajos. Y no nomás ver que hay más de 30 proyectos activos en mi distrito, y la gran mayoría están en el condado de Webb y Starr. Y también vienen 18 proyectos nuevos para el distrito, que incluye Webb, Zapata y otros condados. Es que nosotros apoyamos el petróleo, los trabajos, gasto de energía. Si van a comprar gasolina, vemos que la gasolina está muy baja, que es bueno. Pero también la energía limpia, el condado de Webb, hay energía de petróleo, pero también hay energía limpia en Webb, Zapata y en el sur de Texas.
Ok, también otra preguntita. Comenta que con esto van a beneficiarse muchas familias. ¿Acaso van a reducir los costos más rápido o cómo va a beneficiar a la comunidad?
Sí, cuando hay más proyectos nuevos en el condado de Webb que vienen más y en el sur de Texas, Zapata y otras áreas, hay 30 proyectos activos ahorita en el sur de Texas, un número grande en Webb County, pero también vienen 18 más proyectos. Es que estamos hablando de 48 proyectos de wind y solar limpios en mi distrito, la gran mayoría Webb, Star, Zapata, Jim Hogg, esa área. Y eso es bueno para bajar el precio de energía, tener algo que está stable, stable. Y la otra cosa es, pues trae mucho dinero para nuestra área porque tenemos los ranchos y las áreas rurales que están no nomás tienen petróleo, pero ahora tienen wind y solar también. Webb County, toda la área más grande que Bear County, otra. Webb County, el condado de Webb es número 1. Número 2 es el condado de Starr. Y número 3 es Zapata. Es que los condados en la frontera, Webb, Starr y Zapata son número 3 en mi distrito.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, hi, Congressman. Tawny Davis with KBB and WOAI. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. So again, talking about SNAP and the deadline that's coming up in November, on November 1st, can you talk again about who's going to be affected, how will they be, and what are you all doing to help those who are going to need those services?
Well, November 1st is an important day, not only because of SNAP and 361,000 people in my district, families, individuals will lose SNAP November 1st. But November 1st is another one. In many areas across the nation, open enrollment opens up for health insurance. I would tell you that 133,000 people in my congressional district will see their premiums go up. I can tell you that the insurance companies, without respect to the insurance companies, if they lose this assistance by the federal government for working class to get these subsidies on premiums, they're going to make up the money, and they're going to raise the insurance on other folks that have their own insurance, whether with a city or a county or a private company. The insurance companies are going to make their money. And that's why these premiums are important for those 133,000. One, so the premiums don't go up for 133,000 people. Two, to prevent increases on people that have their own insurance. We don't want their premiums to go up because I repeat, they'll go up to the Texas Commission, Insurance Commission, and they're going to make the money up. And that's why 361,000 for SNAP, 133,000 people for insurance, 55,000 people with Medicaid, and that one already passed. And we got to fix that sometime. That's what I'm concerned about. So in the past, the last time I've seen different shutdowns, the last one was 35 days because they were fighting, the administration was fighting for a border wall. How are people helped? There are banks, there are credit unions, there are food banks, there's local government that steps up to help people. The community comes in and they take care of neighbors taking care of neighbors. But the best way to solve this is to have our colleagues to show up in Washington, like I'm up here, show up, be bipartisan, sit down, work this out. And this is the best solution, is to stop this shutdown. So if members stop their pay like I did, if members show up here and they sit down, look at each other eye to eye, we can work this out. It's not hard, I promise you. it's not hard to work this out. But November 1st, SNAP and open enrollment for healthcare.
Okay, thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. One last question.
Yes, Congressman Steve Taylor, Rio Grande Guardian. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Steve, you get the last question. And how are you? It was good seeing you in Hidalgo recently.
Yes, it's good seeing you back in Hidalgo and Star. But my question is about the ICE raids and the impact they're having on school attendance. The numbers are going down. We heard in La Jolla ISD that they've lost about 300 students. We then spoke to a board member for Brownsville ISD, and she confirmed the numbers are lower there. Then we spoke to a board member for Region 1 Education Service Center, who said it's happening across the state, but the numbers are higher. The percentage of students not coming back to school are higher in heavily Hispanic areas. What are you hearing when you speak to superintendents in your district? How big an issue is this? Is it something you've heard as well?
You know, you just brought up a good topic that I will call my superintendents and ask them that question. I can tell you what's been happening in generally, but I'm gonna follow up on education. And thank you, Steve. I think that's an insight that more people need to look at. So I want to thank you for that. Look, I support ICE. I support when they were going after criminals. I support them going after people that are a risk to the national interest. I support them when they're going after people that have final deportation orders. If the administration would have just stopped there, I think this would have been they would have got broad support, including from members like myself. But when they started going over people that have no criminal records, have families have been here, might have mixed family by that. I mean, somebody might not be here with the right documentation, but their kids were born here. People that are working, they're providing to the local economies. I think that's too much. And I think they need to look at that carefully before they go on that. I know I've talked to business people that have said, we can't find workers. We can't we can't find people to do our work. So it's affecting the local economy. Even people from Mexico, and I've talked to folks that, they're afraid to come in because they might say, well, they might stop me for whatever. And so that's even slowed down some of the people that would walk over and shop and all that. So it's had a ripple effect. Trade, because of tariffs and costs going up, trade is pretty much moving. There's been a slowdown in some areas. So again, if they're going after criminals, if they're going after other folks that are risk to the country, I understand we support them. But that when they're going after that has a ripple effect economically. And I'm going to follow up on your insightful point about the kids also. And as you know, less kids going, less ADA, average daily attendance for the school. So the schools will lose from the state also. So I will follow up with that, Steve, and love to follow up with you on that. I will call my superintendents and ask them that question.
About the children, the students could be US citizens and often are, but the mother perhaps is not a US citizen, and for fear of being separated from the students and being rounded up herself, she's keeping them out of school. Some of them are returning to Mexico. This is what we've been told by school board trustees.
Yes, sir. And again, good point. I will follow up and like the mixed families that I talked about where the kid might be a US citizen, but the parent might not be one of the parents or two are not, and they're afraid to be separated. And so I will follow up, and that is a good point. I've been focusing on the business aspect of it, talking to business people, but I'm going to follow up on the educational part itself. Thank you, Steve. With that, Fernanda, if y'all need any specific info on the clean energy, and remember, South Texas, good news, we're leading in energy, wind, solar, and battery storage. Battery storage, there's different projects and more coming in on battery storage and wind. So 30 active projects. Web number one, star number two, Zapata number three in my congressional district, and then from there, we want to work on this shutdown. We want to continue working. I'm here in D.C. In fact, for the folks in Laredo, this is interesting. I got meetings on businesses that are coming in and other folks, but at 1:30 my time, I actually have some kids from Mary Help. It's a school in Laredo. Their tour was canceled, but I decided to do the tour. The only way they can do a tour is if a member of Congress does the tour. So I'll be doing a tour myself, personally, with some of the kids. I want to make sure that this shutdown doesn't affect those poor kids that already planned their trip, and I want to help the kids. So for the Laredo media, love for you to follow up with Mary Help, because we wanted to make sure those kids' dreams were not dashed by the shutdown. So with that, I want to say thank you. I'm up here in DC at the end of the week. I'll be back. If y'all need anything, please let me know. But otherwise, we'll see you. Thank you so much, Fernanda and Matt. We'll follow up if y'all need any specific information on SNAP numbers, healthcare, Medicaid. Please let us know. And Steve, thank you for that question. I'm gonna follow up. I've done the economic part, but I'm gonna follow up on the educational impact. Good point. With that, thank you. God bless. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us today, everyone. That will conclude today's conversation with Cuellar. If you have any questions or follow-up, please refer to the main chat for mine and Matthew's contact information. With that, take care and thank you.
Recording stopped.